We're gonna talk about the 5 things that suck about the PlayStation 5. What's going on, guys? My name is Hani. Right now we have an entirely new generation of gaming at our fingertips that's about to revolutionize the way we play games. Or, you know, let us down if it doesn't pan out the way we hoped. Of course, that might sound a bit cynical, but hear me out. I'm just as excited as the rest of you about this new generation of gaming, but it's important to note the pros as well as the cons. Obviously, the pros greatly outweigh the cons, but the cons may be sticking points for many people and may cause them to look at their potential console purchase in a new light, so it's important to shed light on these things so that console makers can take notice. And I just want to preface this video by saying I'm not making this video to bash the PS5 or partake in some console wars. That type of activity is already very toxic. I love PlayStation, I love Sony. I've already secured my PS5 pre-order from the get-go. Now, before we get into this video, make sure to hit the like button if you happen to enjoy it, or if it brings value to you in any way, make sure to hit the subscribe button for more videos. It helps the channel out a lot. And make sure to hit the noti bell to join Noti Squad and so you don't miss out on future videos. I've also started streaming on Twitch, and if you don't want to miss out on anything next gen, I'm going to be unboxing and playing the new next gen consoles on launch when I get them on Twitch live streaming. So go ahead, check the link out in the description, hit that follow so you don't miss out. Alright, now let's get into the 5 things that suck about the PlayStation 5. Number 1, it is weaker than the Xbox Series X. Now, while the PS5 is definitely the more popular system and a lot of people trust Sony and are banking on them due to their previous successes, as well as the fact that they actually have some exclusive launch titles under their belt, the reality of the situation is that the PS5 is the weaker console, with the Xbox Series X pushing 12 teraflops of power while the PS5 sits at 10 teraflops. Sure, the PS5 has a much more unique and faster SSD, but when it comes to multi-platform games, I can't imagine developers not giving the graphical edge to Xbox Series X. Of course, at such an early stage in the next-gen gaming cycle, it's truly too difficult to tell how much of a difference that 2 teraflops is going to make. Both of these consoles support a lot of the same next-gen features such as HDMI 2.1, 120Hz, supporting up to 4K resolution, so the difference might really not be that much. However, it is really important to note, and if it does make a really significant difference, then the Xbox Series X has the edge here. Number 2, it doesn't support native 1440p. Now, this one is a weird one for me. I just learned about this a day or two ago, and I still don't understand why Sony would do it. This is quite disheartening for me because I'm not necessarily a fan of 4K. I don't like making the compromise on consoles to switch to 4K and 30 FPS. I'd rather guarantee that 60 FPS in a performance mode rather than running like a fidelity mode where I have to make that compromise. And in that situation, I would have preferred native support for 1440p resolution because it gives you a little bit of a bump over the 1080p while still being able to retain my performance mode standard of 60 FPS. The fact that the PS5 doesn't support 1440p native resolution means that when you connect it to a 1440p monitor, it is going to run at a 1080p native resolution, upscaling to 1440p. What makes this even more odd is the Xbox Series X does support native 1440p resolution, which makes it even more perplexing to me as to why Sony would omit this from their console. Now, don't get me wrong, I love PlayStation obviously, and I've always stood behind Sony for whatever they've done, but they always do these little things that make me go, what? If Xbox Series X can do it, then why can't the PS5 do it? It makes you wonder, like, what are we missing? I don't know if this is something they can patch in a later software update, but until they do something about it, this is a big no-no for me. Number 3, it's still technically inferior to PCs. I mean, this goes without saying, but there's a reason consoles are designed the way they are. Even now, most people who buy gaming consoles are the type to connect it to a TV, the casual gamer who doesn't want to deal with signing up to different platforms like Steam and then downloading the game on their computer and then tinkering with graphical settings. And of course, while the living room gamer doesn't care for having the best graphics on the market or the best specs in the market, they still want gorgeous next-gen visuals with new next-gen innovations. So consoles are designed with accessibility in mind, but accessibility comes in more ways than one, and one of those accessibilities is price point. The reality is a system that's being offered for $400 to $600 can only bring so much performance to the table. And while a lot of us were initially hoping that we wouldn't have to choose between a 30 FPS fidelity mode versus a 60 FPS performance mode, we would rather have ray tracing and 60 FPS all in one bundle. Unfortunately, this is still something that cannot be achieved at the price point we expect from consoles. PCs that run those kind of specs still cost well above a gaming console and will hence in the end still be superior to a PS5 or Xbox Series X for that matter. It is important to note though that the PS5 still has world-class bleeding edge SSD tech that is still not available in the PC market. Number 4, this is one thick boy. This one goes without saying. If you've seen any size comparison of the PS5, you know that that is one big old chunk of tuna. That thing is a one big old pie of a console, and it's not going to save you space. anywhere. I set my PS4 on my tabletop here next to my laptop. This is my setup and it's laying down flat. And I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put my PS5 because honestly, I'm not going to have the vertical space to put it without covering the monitor. Looking at the console, you know it was not designed to be sitting sideways. This thing was meant to stand up, even if it comes with a stand that allows you to do both. But whether the orientation is something that you're truly concerned about or not, the reality is this thing is really big. And while it's true it's most likely in order to vent and keep the system ridiculously cool for how powerful it really is, and people with PS4s definitely won't mind because we know just how loud our jet engine station 4s like to get, I can't help but wonder just how many people will have difficulty finding a place to sit this big baddie. Number 5, we have a small SSD and no real storage expansion at launch. Now let's not get two ways about it. The SSD becoming the standard of next-gen gaming is as welcome an addition as welcome can get. At this point I can't imagine next-gen gaming without an SSD. It would be a tremendous pain in the neck and waste of time to sit through last-gen loading times with next-gen technology. I promise you most of us won't be able to go back once we experience the fast SSD loading times of this generation. But with great SSD comes even greater price increasability. Is that even a word? And because of the expensive nature of SSDs, Sony has opted for an 825GB built-in SSD that will only have 667GB available for the user at launch. Of course, when I say at launch, I don't mean it's gonna increase at any point by itself. The rest of the space is taken up by the operating system. Considering the size of games are only getting bigger, with games like The Last of Us Part 2 taking up 80GB, with behemoth games like Modern Warfare taking up 200+ GB, there really is no space in this storage for a whole catalog of games. To add on to this predicament, because the PS5's SSD is uniquely designed specifically for the system, there are going to be no SSD expansion options at launch. And the expansion slot itself will be locked out by Sony until they choose to unlock it down the line, most likely so that people don't waste their time trying to make SSDs that fit in it work, because they won't. This slot will be unlocked down the line once PS5 compatible SSDs are made available. Of course, there are a few workarounds for this. Sony has mentioned that you can plug in an external storage drive to store your games in and transfer them over to the PS5 SSD when you want to play them. You can even play PS4 games directly off the external storage, probably at the expense of not getting the better load times, but there is a trade-off to all of that, and that trade-off is you waiting for the game to transfer over to the PS5 SSD, and additionally, you most likely had to wait even longer because you had to transfer the game that was already on the PS5 SSD to the external storage before you transferred the game over from the external storage to the PS5. Alright, those are the 5 things. That's the end of the video. Is there anything in this video that resonated with you at all? Let me know in the comments. Have you secured your PS5 pre-order? Let me know. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Enjoy the next generation.